Homage to teacher Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to wisdom Manjushri, homage to lineage masters. The Dharma, profound and subtle, is rarely encountered in million eons. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize Tathagata's true meaning. In order to liberate all sentient beings from samsara, generate supreme bodhicitta. Now let us study together the section on contemplating the impermanence of life in the words of my perfect teacher. Contemplating the profound concept of impermanence is thoughtfully divided into 7 distinct parts. Today we shall commence with the 6th significant section. We will deeply contemplate the inherent uncertainty of the various causes of death, and thus we will meditate extensively upon the pervasive nature of impermanence. Each instruction on contemplating the profound nature of impermanence is especially important and holds significant weight. If we regularly familiarize ourselves with, deeply reflect upon, and truly internalize the teachings presented in these sacred texts, we can gain a much clearer understanding and a more profound appreciation of their wisdom. Eventually, we will be able to maintain this contemplation at all times. There will always be a profound sense and a deep awareness of the inherent impermanence of all things. In this particular way, our spiritual practice will truly succeed and flourish. In other words, the sacred Dharma will genuinely and completely enter into our hearts and minds. The Dharma does not remain merely in external books, but can be fully integrated with the continuum of our own mind. Therefore, it sometimes seems that being well-read and knowledgeable is meaningful, but if you do not tame your own mind, even if you master thousands of sutras and shastras, and can recite all the teachings of both the sutra and mantra traditions by heart, it still may not bring you great benefit. When you leave this world, or when you inevitably face the profound realities of birth, aging, sickness, and ultimately death in your daily life, if you do not consistently and regularly remind yourself with the profound awareness of impermanence, or through various effective methods of spiritual practice and contemplation, then indeed you and the Dharma may end up going in completely opposite directions. There is this possibility and risk. Therefore, as practitioners, we must often reflect deeply on and consider carefully our approaches and methods on the profound Vajra words and teachings passed down by great masters and accomplished beings. Today, let us continue to look at the following text. We, the people of Jambudvipa, from the very moment we are born, are inevitably moving toward death. But the manner of death, the dependent origination of death, and the time of death cannot be determined. Among all humans in the world, as well as other animals, for all sentient beings that come into existence, from the very day we arrive in this world, we are continuously taking step after step, moving inexorably toward the ultimate reality of death. This is a profound truth we often acknowledge and frequently articulate. Every single individual must eventually die. No one can truly escape the inevitable grasp of death. Many worldly people also have this concept. But as for the specifics, what the manner of death will be, the place of death, or under what circumstances and at what time one will die, many people truly have no real concept of these particular things. So, what exactly is it that truly sets us apart from ordinary people is that we must deeply and thoroughly contemplate the profound uncertainty of the conditions surrounding our death. That is to say, precisely when, exactly where, in what specific manner, and due to what particular causes and underlying conditions we will ultimately die, no one can ever be truly certain. Many esteemed Dharma friends present here today can basically and unequivocally conclude this. Within 100 years, not a single one of us will remain. It can be said that all of us will eventually leave this world one after another. However, the way each individual person ultimately dies is truly and completely different. Some may die in a hospital, some may die while walking. Some may die by jumping into a river, some by suicide. Some individuals may tragically leave this world due to devastating earthquakes, catastrophic floods, or various other unforeseen and impactful natural disasters. So if we ask ourselves, I will definitely leave this world, but the cause and manner of my death, or where I will die, many people tell me, I will die in Larung. But in fact, those who say they will die in Larung often say this when they are healthy. Once they fall ill, Because the medical conditions here are rather poor, after getting sick they are willing to go down the mountain to seek medical treatment. When they were healthy they said they would die in Larung, but in the end they did not perish in Larung. Instead, they peacefully passed away and gracefully left this world in the comfort of their own cherished homeland. So, indeed, each person's death, if it were to happen in a few hundred years, or even decades from now, and if it were already determined, then we would still have time. For example, if I still had 10 years, or even 20 or 30 years left before death, I think that within those 30 years, I could practice a Dharma session every day, or recite certain mantras daily. In this way, I can plan and arrange my own time. There would be a set amount of time. But for each and every one of us, nothing is truly certain. Because our precious lives never actually increase. Instead, they are constantly and irrevocably slipping away from us. Day and night do not pause. This life is always diminishing. There is no extra increase. How could my life not come to an end? This is also what Shantideva taught. Our lifespan, day and night, is continuously passing, never stopping for even a moment. There is no increase at all. So how could my life not come to an end? Some bardo instructions and other essential practices use metaphors to illustrate this. For example, just imagine a person precariously hanging off the edge of a very steep cliff. As he precariously falls off the steep cliff, he desperately grabs onto a small tuft of green grass, hoping to halt his rapid descent. 2 mice, one white and one black, are constantly gnawing at it. Below, a fierce beast patiently waits with its mouth wide open. Yet, surprisingly, the person shows no panic at all, and even calmly continues to eat sweet food. This is an extremely foolish behavior, and here it is used as a metaphor. For example, our lifespan is as fragile as the grass we cling to. And impermanence, the ceaseless impermanence of day and night, is like the black and white mice gnawing at that grass. Once we fall, it is very dangerous as we plunge into the lower realms. Yet people indulge in the 5 kinds of sensual pleasures, completely unaware that a truly terrifying Lord of Death awaits them just ahead. Therefore, in our daily lives, we should deeply contemplate the reality of death and the nature of impermanence. It's truly hard to say when impermanence will arrive. Many people, in fact, have very good plans for themselves. This includes some lay practitioners who come to our Buddhist institute. They all say, "I'm not free right now, so I'll temporarily leave the institute to work and earn money. Then, after a period of time, maybe 4 or 5 years later, I'll come back to the institute, ordain, and practice diligently." But once they return, some people, due to a change in their initial motivation or because impermanence struck, never made it back. Some, indeed, even passed away while they were outside. Even the most carefully laid plans, those meticulously crafted for a very short and immediate period of time, possess the inherent potential to undergo significant and unexpected alterations. Not so long ago, on that memorable day when we embarked upon our spiritual pilgrimage to the sacred grounds of Shinbaoshan, there was a remarkable young woman who had just successfully completed her rigorous academic journey and proudly graduated from the esteemed Qinghai Medical College. But she had previously watched some DVDs of The Way of the Bodhisattva and other Dharma teachings. Then she developed faith in Buddhism and insisted on coming here to become a nun. She was also a young Tibetan girl. When she arrived here, she probably didn't see me for 2 or 3 days. Later, perhaps many Dharma friends here still remember this. When we were on pilgrimage to Shinbaoshan, both she and her mother came to see me. At that time, she seemed to have great faith in Buddhism. She was unwilling to continue drifting through worldly life, feeling that precious human life is extremely rare. To become a dedicated monastic in the serene Larong Valley, to diligently listen, deeply contemplate, and faithfully practice the profound Dharma, she profoundly felt this was an extraordinarily precious opportunity. She was absolutely determined to formally ordain at the esteemed institute, and I did not refuse her earnest request. Then she meticulously planned to go back and carefully prepare a suitable house here. A couple of days ago, her mother called me in tears and said her daughter originally wanted to come here to ordain, but unexpectedly impermanence struck. She was diagnosed with late-stage cancer in the hospital and cannot come anymore. This daughter also called me herself and said, on one hand, she was very happy to have encountered the Dharma before dying. Now, when facing death, it doesn't seem so terrifying, But deep down she always wished to become a monastic at Larong. In this lifetime she no longer has that opportunity. She made a vow, hoping that in her next life she could become a monastic under my guidance. She also harbored another profound wish. She observed some elderly, venerable nuns at the institute wearing noticeably tattered and worn-out shoes. It deeply saddened her to witness their footwear in such a state of disrepair. I mentioned this before in Footprints of the Journey. So this time, if anyone saw that she was ill and left some money, after she passed away, she planned to send this money over so that I could give it to these elderly nuns or some impoverished people. She wished to dedicate the merit to all sentient beings. When I first heard about this, I still felt a bit sad inside. Because impermanence comes so quickly for everyone. She was only 26. In her heart, she really wanted to stay here. But for those who came here, one reason is that the journey is long and difficult. Another reason is that her father, who is a well-known doctor, insisted on chemotherapy. Even though it was incurable, they still went through the motions on the surface. So I think for many people, impermanence happens all around us very often, but no one really treats it as something significant. No one does. They think that impermanence only happens to others, but not to themselves. Many people, especially those who haven't studied Buddhism before, or even those who have, but not in depth, are quite lacking in their understanding of impermanence. So during our study and contemplation this time, everyone should really reflect on this. Is it really like this? Is everything truly impermanent? Whether it's the mountains, rivers, and earth outside, or the changing of the seasons, aren't all these conditions constantly changing in an instant? Our inner faith, compassion, desire, anger, and all other emotions and thoughts, aren't these also impermanent? Including our own body and lifespan, aren't these impermanent as well? In this regard, we must close our eyes. In the past, great masters and accomplished practitioners have said to place both hands on your chest, calm your mind, close your eyes, and reflect. How much longer can I remain in this world? Countless people have never thought about these things. They just focus on what's in front of them, blindly pursuing it all the time. In the end, what have we gained and what have we lost? We should ask ourselves this question. So here it has already been made very clear. Each of us needs to contemplate the truth of impermanence and death. In this world, the causes for living are pitifully few, while the causes for dying are as numerous as the hairs on an ox. As the great master Aryadeva also said, the causes for death are extremely numerous, while the causes for life are extremely rare. Even those can become causes for death. It's possible that Aryadeva mentioned this in other treatises as well. I remember that Bodhisattva Nagarjuna also said in the Precious Garland of the Middle Way, how many are the numerous causes for death, and how few are the actual causes for life. Even those very causes can ultimately become causes for death. So in this world, the potential causes for death are truly, truly and undeniably many. For example, devastating fires and catastrophic earthquakes, as well as floods, poisons, dangerous places, wild people, ferocious beasts, and so on. In the external world, there are countless such things. The causes of death we face are extremely numerous, truly overwhelming. We can see this every day by watching the news, reading newspapers, and through various media reports. Basically, people all over the world are constantly experiencing all kinds of disasters. These are natural disasters. Each person may also experience imbalances of the 4 elements within themselves, or various illnesses. There are 404 types of diseases, as well as 80,000 kinds of demonic obstacles, and all sorts of other harms. The causes and conditions that threaten our life and body are truly countless, but the conditions that support life are extremely rare. Moreover, things we consider to be supportive of life, such as food and clothing, can also become causes of death. In this world, the causes and conditions for survival are virtually non-existent. People all believe that medicine, clothing, and food, as well as all kinds of daily necessities and supplies, are made and created for the sake of survival. But in reality, how many of these truly become conditions that support life? Basically, there are none. Especially now, as science becomes more and more advanced, people no longer have a sense of cause and effect in their hearts. For the sake of their own future and to pursue their own interests, they recklessly create all kinds of weapons and tools that endanger life. Directly or indirectly, these have already threatened the very foundation of our lives. Therefore, the conditions that truly support life are indeed few. Nowadays, we think that medicine, supplements, or health foods are all considered foods that prolong life, but in fact, the toxins within them would not be consumed by those who truly understand these principles. Some people genuinely believe that the garments and apparel we choose to wear in the present day are also fundamentally designed and intended to maintain the overall health and well-being of our bodies. In actual fact, particularly with regard to some of the contemporary leather clothing available nowadays, a number of respected experts and specialists in the field are of the considered opinion that these specific types of leather garments and attire, which are prevalent today, undergo a lot of processing during manufacturing, and the raw materials used in processing contain many toxins. These are directly harmful to our bodies. They can even cause various skin diseases and even illnesses like cancer. Such issues can arise from using animal skins in the manufacturing process. Nowadays, many people especially like to wear luxurious lambskin, exotic tiger skin, and all kinds of other animal skins. This indeed poses many significant dangers to human life and well-being. Similarly, eating toxic foods or foods that are thought to be non-toxic with the hope that they are beneficial to the body can also turn out to be extremely poisonous or cause severe and adverse reactions and significant poisoning, potentially even leading to tragic death. Such unfortunate incidents, regrettably, happen with alarming frequency and regularity. Especially when it comes to food. People often think certain things should be good for their health, but in fact, not only do they not benefit the body, but once inside the body, they can actually turn into poison. In the past, some people would harm others on the surface. They would warmly entertain them and prepare all kinds of food and drink. However, in stark reality, they would meticulously prepare and cook with highly poisonous ingredients, carefully mixing them together in a deliberate manner, and then serving these dangerous concoctions directly to the unsuspecting person. It is widely said that, for example, combining the rich flavor of beef with the distinct sweetness of brown sugar, or pairing the unique taste of dog meat with the slippery texture of eel, is not advisable. Would, in terms of preparation, completely turn into toxins. There are also some specific types of foods that, through extensive processing, can potentially produce various harmful toxins within them. Some toxins develop after a certain amount of time has passed. For example, it is important to note that potatoes, after they have sprouted, can produce harmful toxins that are not safe for consumption. But some people may not understand these unhealthy foods. For various different reasons, some of these particular items ultimately end up being eaten. Especially nowadays, when people consume certain types of meat, like raw, uncooked meat, it is important to consider the potential health implications. This situation is even more profoundly frightening and deeply concerning, as it completely and irrevocably transforms into a highly toxic and dangerous substance, becoming a potent poison that poses a significant threat. In 2004, a comprehensive survey was meticulously conducted in Foshan, Guangdong, revealing a significant public health issue. Over 1 million people tragically contracted liver fluke disease, a parasitic infection, which originated primarily from the consumption of raw fish. Subsequently, this alarming situation was widely reported in numerous news outlets, bringing the issue to public attention. Similarly, in Tibet as well, it was historically common for people to consume raw lamb, raw beef, and various other types of uncooked meats, a traditional practice with its own health implications. In fact, when raw, unprocessed meat enters the human body, all kinds of potentially harmful bacteria, dangerous viruses, and insidious parasites originating directly from the animal source are immediately and directly transferred into your internal system, posing significant health risks and potential for serious illness. Then you yourself become someone who is sick. In many southern cities, eating monkey brains is quite common. However, according to some medical experts, monkey brains actually contain harmful pathogens, including prions, which are infectious agents that can cause severe and incurable neurological diseases in humans. Various viruses found in many different animals. These viruses, let alone directly eating them, even if their saliva inadvertently gets onto human food, it can easily enter the human body. It's extremely frightening, but people actually treat it as a delicacy and consume it with great delight. So many people truly hope that this will indeed become a cause for overall good health. But in reality, you have no idea what kind of toxins have formed inside your body. In the end, you too will have to leave this world. So sometimes, when we look at food in this world, it can be quite frightening. No matter what you eat, it's all quite scary. Among the people we encounter in this world, those without Buddhist thinking or a Buddhist view of cause and effect are also quite frightening. Once their own interests are at stake, they will stop at nothing. They can destroy everything you have. There are people like this. Especially in today's era, most people indulge themselves recklessly in eating flesh and blood because of their excessive and intense craving for meat. As a direct result of this, it seems that almost no one manages to escape from suffering from Madun disease or Xiaozhen disease. Especially nowadays, many people in society do not eat vegetarian food but consume meat. Some even eat raw flesh and blood directly. Before Patrul Rinpoche was born, in Tibet as well, due to certain Bon religious traditions, there was also a very serious habit of directly consuming flesh and blood. Just as I mentioned earlier, nowadays in Han regions, especially in some of the larger coastal cities, things like fresh shrimp and succulent crab are often eaten alive. Many enthusiastic college students and curious young people are particularly interested in this unique culinary practice and the experience it offers. In fact, medical science has proven that lung flukes from shrimp and crab can directly enter the body and cause illness. There are also concerns with blood clams. In the past, in one place, there were instances where people contracted diseases from consuming these types of seafood, highlighting the importance of proper cooking and food safety practices to prevent such infections and protect public health. Nearly 320,000 people, a truly significant number, consumed blood clams that were still alive, and subsequently a considerable portion of them contracted the serious viral infection known as hepatitis A. Many diseases originate in this way as well. There are also more than 700 different types of parasites that can be found living on the body of a monitor lizard, which can directly enter the body. We should be acutely aware of these significant things. People who conscientiously do not consume meat will generally not experience these particular diseases. So I truly think the fundamental idea of being a vegetarian, especially if you genuinely and thoroughly understand the intricate cause and effect relationships involved, is a very profound and beneficial concept. If you read the Shurangama Sutra or the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, many ancient and revered scriptures unequivocally make this profound point exceptionally clear, so it is truly imperative that you wholeheartedly believe and internalize this fundamental truth. Furthermore, even if you do not particularly believe in the spiritual or religious aspects and are primarily concerned about your personal well-being and physical health, I am firmly convinced that embracing a vegetarian lifestyle genuinely brings forth an abundance of remarkable and substantial benefits, contributing significantly to your overall vitality and long-term welfare. Some time ago, the venerable elder monk Benhuan was 102 years old. I distinctly recall seeing a book that had been meticulously compiled by the elderly committee, and within its pages, a reporter posed a very pertinent question to him, inquiring, "If you conscientiously choose not to consume any meat whatsoever, can your physical body truly acquire and maintain a sufficient level of essential nutrition?" Then the elder monk replied, "I'm 102 years old now and still in good health. If I weren't getting enough nutrition, I would have died long ago." And that's indeed the case. Because when we eat vegetarian, our bodies truly benefit, one of which is longevity. Nowadays, many medical and biological experts all firmly believe that humans really shouldn't consume meat. If you eat meat, especially since it cannot be properly digested in the large intestine. There was once a distinguished professor in Tokyo, specifically named Honma Michi, and another equally notable individual named Mitsumasa Mitsu, who was affiliated with the prestigious University of Tokyo. These two academics were well known in their respective fields. In 1972, they diligently began their extensive research into human cells and the various intricate factors significantly affecting the overall lifespan. Later, they remarkably discovered that in the bustling Tokyo metropolitan area of Japan, there was a particular phenomenon. And since there happens to be a Japanese person, a native speaker from Japan, listening to this discussion today, I am intentionally bringing this up and mentioning this specific detail. Well, perhaps not entirely intentionally, but it's more of a delightful and interesting coincidence that this particular individual is present. They shared an observation that people residing in the bustling and vibrant Tokyo metropolitan area of Japan, specifically within that large and influential region, had an average lifespan, with most dying before reaching 70 years old. There is also a remarkable longevity village where the local residents typically live to around 90 years of age. What was the reason?
The biology experts conducted research on this. They found that in the bustling Tokyo area, because the living conditions within the city were notably better, they consumed a particularly large and substantial amount of meat. And this meat, once it entered the human large intestine, was then transformed into many harmful toxins. These toxins directly affected the white blood cells. Because when people eat meat and blood for a long period of time, gradually, after 10 or 20 years, the white blood cells actually, they are a form of immunity, meaning the body's direct ability to resist disease. However, this essential bodily function unfortunately keeps steadily declining over time. Moreover, consuming meat and animal products frequently leads to the significant accumulation of various harmful toxins and undesirable bacteria within the large intestine. Eventually, food cannot be properly digested and consequently releases all kinds of harmful toxins throughout the body. In the end, their conclusion was to adopt a vegetarian diet. Because after all, these longevity villages are typically rural areas and often do not possess such modern living conditions, and many of the local people residing there genuinely prefer to consume a diet consisting mainly of vegetarian food. So, through the careful and thorough analysis conducted by various experts in the medical and biological fields, we have come to understand that humans are indeed not suited to eating meat. If you eat meat, especially flesh with blood, it will directly turn into illness. All kinds of diseases will appear in the human body. As a result, this directly threatens the extension of our lives. This is why, among the vegetarian eminent monks and great masters in Han regions, many of them live to be around 100 years old, or close to 100. And the reason why there aren't so many such people in the secular world is also because of this. Therefore, for those who wish for longevity, having a vegetarian mindset is indeed especially important. For people in some cities who truly find it difficult to be vegetarian, then at least try to eat less meat. On certain blessed Buddhist festival days each month, try your best to eat vegetarian. Gradually, you should also cultivate this habit of eating vegetarian. I think this is very necessary. Our lifespan is already so short to begin with. If we add to that our own poor eating habits and lack of proper adjustment, in this way, people often end up living significantly even shorter lives than they otherwise might have, leading to various health complications. So everyone should also understand some basic knowledge in these areas. Moreover, due to improper diet, countless people suffer from tumors, excessive saliva, and edema. And the number of deaths caused by these conditions is beyond counting. Nowadays in the world, many people have poor eating habits. Most cases of avian flu, human flu, and so on also stem from various dietary causes. If we pay attention to our diet, the whole world wouldn't be in such a state of panic. Many people rush to the battlefield in pursuit of wealth or fame, or encounter ferocious wild animals, or carelessly cross rivers, and the number of deaths caused by such reasons is also countless. In this world, some do it to subdue their enemies, while others do it for their own reputation, wealth, and so on. In the end, these individuals often fall prey to wild beasts, tragically drown while crossing rivers, and face all sorts of perilous causes of death. There really are many such cases in our world. Therefore, sometimes whether I'm walking or driving, I often experience a sense of fear, a feeling of impermanence. For example, when we are traveling on the highway at high speeds, I often feel a sense of panic. Why is that? Because I truly believe that just a mere minute ago, I was still very much alive and present in this world. But if I were to have a car accident on the highway, it might not even take a minute, just a few seconds. And after a few seconds, a person can become a being of the next life. It's incredibly fast. Or when you're walking, you might suddenly slip and fall into a river. Or when you're driving, the car might suddenly plunge into a river. There are so many incidents like this. So many of us think, I won't die, right? Because I'm young, because I haven't finished my career yet, because of this or that. So many reasons, similar kinds of reasons. But what do we mean by similar reasons? These reasons are not sufficient at all. It's also impossible not to die just because you're young. Buddhist logico-epistemology tells us that's not necessarily the case. So those who practice well in this world always keep in mind, when will I die? Death is uncertain. The time of death is uncertain. If you have this kind of mindset, you'll be very diligent in your practice. You won't spend every day chatting or doing meaningless things. So I've noticed that in some cities, what people lack most is an awareness of impermanence. They keep postponing the practice of virtuous deeds to next year, the year after, or even until after retirement. Previously, I encountered a 50-year-old person who told me, when I reach 65 years of age, I will come to the academy to study the Dharma. I still have 15 years ahead of me. He had mapped out his own lifespan quite confidently and precisely. There was once a story recorded in the ancient Dharmapada Sutra that illustrates this point. There once was an elderly Brahmin, a man of 80 years, who harbored a strong desire to construct a truly beautiful and comfortable house for his beloved family. Throughout the entire construction process, he was constantly present on site, diligently directing the skilled carpenters with great attention to detail. Through his profound wisdom, the enlightened Buddha Shakyamuni clearly perceived that this elderly man had only one day left to live in this world. Consequently, the compassionate Buddha Shakyamuni himself undertook the journey to personally visit this Brahmin. When he arrived, the old man was busy discussing designs with the workers below. He was saying, "The living room will be at the front of the house, the left side is for someone to live in, and this is how the children will be accommodated. I'll live in this room, and the servants will stay here." He kept planning and designing like this. Buddha once said, "Come here, my dear disciple, let me tell you about the profound impermanence of all things in this fleeting world." But he kept refusing to listen. Later, Buddha also told him, "Even though you are surrounded by children and grandchildren, when impermanence arrives, none of this will be of any use. You should reflect on this carefully." But the old man replied, "I don't have time today. Let's talk when I have time in the future." In the end, Buddha could do nothing and left. Not long after Buddha left, after a short while, a beam from above fell down, and the old man died right there. When the people in the city heard about what happened, they felt deep regret. So people in this world really are no different from this analogy. Many elderly people, there's a saying among us Tibetans, a person dies, but their heart does not. People are about to die, and from every perspective, it's clear they can't go on. But in their hearts, they still plan as if they'll live for hundreds more years in this world. They keep thinking about how to arrange things for their children and grandchildren and for themselves. So how long we actually stay in this world is something we should reflect on regularly. With this kind of reflection, you gain great strength. You won't become attached to this life. Unlike worldly people who have never studied the Dharma and are extremely attached to their own reputation, wealth, relationships, and so on, some people are even willing to give up their own lives for these things. But if you cultivate a good understanding of impermanence, when you yourself encounter illness or various kinds of suffering, you will have the courage to face them. And when your relatives, friends, or people around you experience impermanence, if you already understand that everything in the world is inseparable from impermanence, then you'll realize that what's happening around you is something that was bound to occur. So you will truly come to understand this yourself. Therefore, our study of the Dharma is not just a superficial form of faith. Some religions are only about outward appearances. And if you dig deeper into their principles, there's nothing much to uncover. There are indeed such religions, but in Buddhism, our theories can be explained in a very thorough and ultimate way. And in terms of meaning or actual practice, everyone will inevitably experience some kind of feeling, more or less pronounced. You will definitely have this kind of feeling. This is the greatness of Buddhism. Therefore, we should keep in mind that precisely because the causes of death are so varied, the time of death is impossible to determine. The causes of death are many, and the time of death cannot be known. Some die while still in the womb, some pass away just after being born. There are also those individuals who unfortunately die at a very young age, sometimes just after they have begun to learn how to crawl. This is precisely why the Buddha, in his profound teachings within the chapter on causes and conditions, explicitly stated, some sentient beings tragically die while still in the womb, while others pass away at the very moment of their birth. Furthermore, some perish just after they have learned to crawl, and still others pass away while they are actively running. This is exactly what is described here. Some people, while still in the womb, before being born, have already died due to miscarriage or abortion. This also happens. Some have just been born, but ultimately never truly get the profound chance to fully experience life in this vast and intricate world before tragically perishing. There are also those individuals who, just as they begin to tentatively crawl and explore their immediate surroundings, or when they are able to crawl or run on the ground, die at that time. All kinds of situations like these exist. Some individuals tragically pass away in the very prime of their lives, while in contrast others peacefully die of old age, serenely at the very end of their long and fulfilling years. Some die because they did not receive timely treatment, while others, after falling ill, have an ambulance rush to them immediately, but die at the hospital entrance, or some die on the way there. The ambulance cannot save them, and instead their bodies are brought back for chanting and rituals to help them pass on. Some people, after being bedridden for a long time due to chronic illness, die emaciated, skin and bones, unable to rest in peace. Some have been like this for many years, even over a decade. During those years, they are neither able to die nor truly live. In the end, their skin just wraps around their bones. It's truly pitiful, and they themselves feel it too. I've seen many patients like this before. They even wondered themselves, could I die a little sooner? Some time ago, someone called me. He asked, if you bless me, could I die a bit faster? Living like this, it's also very painful for others. The people taking care of me are suffering, and I myself am in great pain too. But because of the karma from previous lives, it's not that simple. So in the chapter on causes and conditions, it also says later on, across all generations, there are individuals, whether they are the very old, the very young, or even those in the prime of their lives, who inevitably pass away, one after another, in a continuous cycle of life and death. Some individuals reach a venerable old age before their demise, while others tragically succumb in their tender childhood years, never having the chance to experience a full life. So, on the road to the afterlife, there is no distinction between old and young. There is a similar saying in Han regions. On the road to the afterlife, there is no distinction between old and young. But many young people think, because I'm young, look, my hair hasn't even turned white yet. How could I die? It's impossible. It won't happen. Definitely not. They feel quite certain about this. Maybe such people have already attained the fruition of long life and realization. Quite remarkable. There are also many unfortunate individuals who suffer from the debilitating Dongte disease. They tragically perish while their nourishing food remains unfinished, their important words are left unsaid, and their crucial tasks are left completely incomplete. Some individuals, tragically, even succumb to death by suicide. The peculiar Dongte disease, a condition that was historically known to exist in the remote regions of Tibet, raises questions about its current presence. I am not entirely certain if it still exists today. This particular disease is quite unique and profoundly disturbing, affected people suddenly and without any prior warning or discernible symptoms, drop dead. They collapse instantaneously, often in mid-stride or mid-sentence, and upon falling they have already ceased breathing, their lives extinguished in an instant. Nowadays, some people go to sleep at night and never wake up in the morning. They have already passed away. This kind of situation where a profound and peaceful departure occurs also happens. Not long ago, I distinctly remember mentioning it, didn't I? There was the Venerable Lama who resided in the monastery right next door to my own dwelling. He peacefully passed away while deeply engrossed in the sacred act of reciting scriptures, maintaining a serene posture, sitting cross-legged in profound meditation. Perhaps he was truly someone with exceptionally good spiritual practice who gracefully left this world freely and peacefully at his own chosen time. Indeed, after his passing, many fellow practitioners, a rainbow appeared that day, and it looked very clear in the photos. At first I didn't believe it myself, because I generally don't really believe in things like rainbows or lights. But later, when I saw the photos, the dates matched exactly as well. So looking back, I think it was indeed real. Some accomplished practitioners also manifest such signs and depart directly. In the History of Tibetan Buddhism, written by Dudjom Rinpoche, there are many such accounts. For example, in the past, all the realized masters who practiced Vajrayana as passed down from Vairotsana, when they eventually left this physical world, they would place their robes and malas on the branches of a cypress tree and then ascend into the vast open sky themselves. There are quite a considerable number of such stories. Indeed, those states of being are far beyond our own current understanding and comprehension. But for ordinary people, sudden death can happen, and some may even commit suicide. The phenomenon of suicide is especially common nowadays. I once came across an article in the Global Times newspaper that reported how globally more than 1 million people commit suicide each year, and among all these tragic cases, China accounts for approximately 30%. According to statistical calculations, globally speaking, one person commits suicide every 40 seconds. And specifically looking at China, one person takes their own life every 2 minutes. And there are even more people who attempt suicide but do not succeed. Some who have already committed suicide have parents who also want to take their own lives, and this is even more common. So if you really observe carefully in this world, the causes and dependent origination for death are extremely numerous.
And we ourselves, amidst the profound and complex convergence of all these various causes of death, it becomes abundantly clear that life itself is indeed extremely fragile and delicate. Among all these numerous and pervasive causes of death, the fragile force of life is as weak as a delicate candle flickering precariously in the relentless wind. Indeed, among so many potential and ever-present causes of death, whether we are simply eating a meal, leisurely walking along a path, or comfortably riding in a moving car, even soaring high above the clouds on a modern plane, virtually everything imaginable can potentially be a profound and ultimate cause of death. Taking the train is not safe either. You see, there are so many train accidents around the world. The same goes for flying and for riding in cars. Even if you go nowhere and just sit at home, you could suddenly die at home as well. So truly, there is no place where death does not reach. We constantly dwell among causes of death like a lamp in a raging wind. This is what is said in the precious garland of the Middle Way. We constantly dwell among causes of death like a lamp in a raging wind. We are always living amid all kinds of natural disasters and human calamities, or in the midst of various converging causes of death. Just like a lamp in a raging wind, a fragile lamp exposed to the relentless force of a raging wind will inevitably be extinguished very quickly and without much resistance. The Great Ornament Treatise also says, "Life is like a lamp in the wind. We do not know when it will go out. Our lives are just like lamps in the wind. We currently have no clear idea when they will be completely extinguished from existence." The Buddhist scriptures also say that life exists in a single breath, and in other sutras it is said that life is like a water bubble. Our lives are just like water bubbles. Water bubbles disappear so quickly. Some children blow on them. Poof, they're gone. Water bubbles vanish in an instant. So each of us thinks about our own lives. I dress up nicely every day, make myself look good. I want to accumulate a lot of money and keep it in the bank, thinking about how to live and planning for a happy and fulfilling future. There are so many plans in our hearts. However, the overall quality of our daily lives is, in actual fact, not good or fulfilling at all. Therefore, it is profoundly important that people should frequently and deeply contemplate the undeniable and profound truth of the inherent impermanence of existence and the inevitability of death. Perhaps at any moment death could suddenly arrive. No one can be sure whether tomorrow they might be reborn as a being with horns on their head. So we should sincerely believe in the uncertainty of the time and place of death. We should keep this in mind at every moment. It is very possible that death could suddenly strike us like a bolt of lightning. At that moment, you might not even have time to take a breath. You might not even have time to say a single word. This is entirely possible. Everyone, take a look at your own life. What is it really like? Today I am among the crowd, but it is very possible that by tomorrow morning I will have left this world. Moreover, the karma of sentient beings is truly inconceivable. It is entirely possible to become a being with horns on your head in the next life. Some people say it's impossible to have horns on your head. For example, you might become a yak or turn into something else. At the very least, you would have to stay in the womb for a long time. There is such a saying. In fact, beings with horns on their heads are not necessarily like yaks. There are also others, like those born from moisture, as described in the Abhidharmakosha. Some sentient beings are generated from moisture, certain types of insects, for example. In just an instant or overnight, they mature into sentient beings. If you carefully observe some tiny insects under a powerful magnifying glass, you will undoubtedly notice that they possess remarkably sharp, prominent horns adorning their heads, which are quite distinctive and often intricately shaped, or they might look like particularly frightening kinds of animals. It's very possible that I was a human yesterday, but in just a couple of days I could become like this. So when we truly contemplate this cycle of samsara, we really can't afford to remain distracted for long periods. We should earnestly and diligently engage in actual, genuine practice. This authentic practice is indeed very important and truly essential. Next, we will thoroughly discuss contemplating with intense, profound longing and diligently practicing the profound concept of impermanence. At all times and in all places, we should focus solely on meditating on death. Visualize that every action, walking, standing, sitting or lying down, is the last time you'll do it in this life. Speak this way aloud and sincerely contemplate it in your heart as well. So next we need to visualize with a sense of urgent longing. To long for it intensely means to forcefully cut off your discursive thoughts. Then, with a yearning for liberation, contemplate impermanence. So how should we visualize this? At all times and in all places, we should deeply and thoughtfully contemplate this profound way in every single posture, whether standing, sitting, walking, or lying down. Whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, in every posture. Think, oh, this is the last time I will be in this world. You should think like this. Now, let me explain each point one by one. If you are going somewhere else, you should also think this way. You might tragically die in a distant foreign land, far from your loved ones and familiar surroundings, and consequently never have the precious opportunity or the chance to return to your beloved home. If we find ourselves on an extended business trip, venturing out for various purposes, or embarking on a long journey and traveling anywhere across the globe, you should mentally prepare yourself that you might not come back. I do this often, but I have a habit. Just now I was still thinking about it. When I come to teach a class, I still feel like I'll definitely be back in a little while. Every time I leave the institute and go somewhere else, I think maybe I won't come back. This is the contemplation of impermanence. So when I practice, if I'm gone for a longer time, I still have this feeling in my heart. But if it's just for a short while, like going to teach a class and coming back soon, it's rare for me to think that I might not come back after just a short while, logically speaking. Whenever you go out, whether it's to the restroom or to fetch water, wherever you go, you should think, maybe I won't come back in a little while. You should always maintain this strong sense of impermanence. Whether you're setting out on a journey or just resting on the steps, you should also consider that you might die right there. Whether you're on the road or just taking a short rest on the steps, I might die here. No matter where you're sitting, you should visualize that you might die there. Whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, wherever we stay, for example, if you're staying somewhere for just one night, or even if you're there for a week, you should think, I might die here. If ordinary people hear this, they find it strange and think, that's impossible. That's because they've never practiced contemplating impermanence before. Many people in the world have a particularly odd way of thinking. They might think, isn't there something wrong with you? That's impossible. A normal person who isn't sick at all, just sitting on the steps, dying there, that's impossible too. They think there's no need to always be in such a state of anxiety. It's as if all ideals and grand goals in life are gone. Some even say that constantly practicing this kind of contemplation every day isn't good, but in reality that's not the case. Their worldly pursuits and their earthly endeavors are completely and entirely different from our spiritual practice of renunciation and our ascetic way of life. They are entirely different. When we have renunciation, apart from practicing and seeking liberation, nothing else truly has any real meaning. We should think this way. That's why when some people genuinely develop renunciation in their hearts, no one can stop them. They immediately ordain, immediately go to practice. What is the reason for this? Because you have truly seen the reality of all things. You feel there's no more time to wait, such thoughts arise. But when such thoughts have not yet arisen in your heart, then you will still pursue worldly happiness as usual. So on the surface, there may seem to be some contradictions here, because when someone is truly advanced in practice, they see through everything. But some people only have a superficial understanding of Buddhism and have not truly developed firm conviction. So in their actions, they do not really put it into practice. In fact, when we truly wish to attain liberation and a sense of renunciation arises in our continuum, we lose interest in all sorts of worldly things. Just like a person suffering from gallbladder disease who becomes nauseous seeing greasy food, when they see it or even think about these worldly things, they feel there's no real meaning or value. This is how you think, no matter where you are during the day. At night when you go to sleep, you should also reflect in this way. You might die tonight where you sleep. There's no guarantee you'll still be alive in the human world tomorrow. Whether you're staying in a hotel or in your own home, you should always think this way when you go to bed at night. I often think like this myself. When I go to sleep at night, I pray to the 3 jewels, thinking that I might die right here, and there's no certainty I'll wake up tomorrow. Every time I have this kind of thought, especially at night before sleep, when the mind is more pure and clear, if I haven't been distracted by random thoughts beforehand, I still often reflect in this way. This actually requires forming a habit. Every time before you sleep, you should contemplate impermanence. Think that you might not wake up tomorrow. If you reflect in this way, gradually, this kind of mindfulness will arise naturally. Praying to the Guru and the 3 jewels will also arise naturally. You won't be like other animals who simply sleep when it's time to sleep and get up when it's time to get up. With absolutely no awareness or understanding of the profound teachings of Buddhism at all, you certainly won't be like that. Then when you awaken in the morning, you should also diligently reflect in this very same manner, contemplating the transient nature of existence. Throughout the course of the day, it is entirely possible that one's precious life could unexpectedly come to an end at any moment. Tonight you might not even have another chance to go to sleep. When you wake up in the morning, you should think this way. Truly diligent practitioners do have these reflections. Those who don't practice regularly, even if we explain this to them, it might not have any effect.
It must come from the heart, naturally and involuntarily, only by meditating on death. In the past, the Kadampa Geshes would often contemplate before going to bed at night, wondering whether they would even need to light the comforting and essential fire the very next morning. Each and every night, as they prepared to go to bed and settle down for their slumber, they would invariably feel this profound and recurring sense of uncertainty and apprehension, a feeling that lingered in the quiet darkness. When they woke up the next day, whether or not they would need to light the fire was uncertain. So they often wouldn't cover the fire and would place their bowls upside down. At every moment, their minds held a firm and unwavering conviction about death. Back then, these Kadampa Geshes in Old Tibet, unlike today, there were no electric stoves, no gas lines, and certainly no various kinds of modern cookers readily available. Generally, for their cooking needs, they would ingeniously arrange 3 stones to form a stable tripod, with a pot then carefully placed on top. At night, to preserve the embers and prevent the fire from completely dying out, they would meticulously use ash and a flat stone to cover the glowing embers, ensuring they could easily rekindle the fire the next morning without much effort. For example, adding some cow dung or pieces of wood inside, burying it well underneath the ground, then carefully placing a heavy stone on top of it. In the morning, they would dig it out and the embers would still be there, making it easy to start a fire. When we were young, this was basically the way of life in Tibet. Now it seems this practice has almost disappeared. With matches and lighters, starting a fire has become much more convenient. In the distant past, things like tinder and flint were also quite difficult to effectively use. That was indeed the traditional and customary way in ancient historical times. Back then, the practitioners of the Kadampa school, when they went to sleep at night, they would think, I might not wake up tomorrow. So they often wouldn't bother with the fire and would even turn their bowls upside down. This is a common tradition in Tibet. After someone passes away, their bowl is turned upside down. So they felt it was better to turn the bowl over in advance. Among ordinary people in Tibet, you can't just turn your bowl upside down casually. If someone does, everyone gets really scared. And they'll say, you're not dead, so why are you turning your bowl over? So when some children turn their bowls upside down, their parents will start scolding them, saying, oh, you can't do such an inauspicious thing. Of course, some of the practices of the Kadampa school, from a worldly perspective, are considered inauspicious. For example, if I'm going out today, I might wonder, will I die out there? I've actually met people like this quite often. I'm not from the Kadampa school, but even so, in my heart, I sometimes worry, oh no, will I die this time when I go out? I make sure to say what needs to be said, and some people will reassure me, you won't die, you won't die. For example, if I have some money here, how should it be handled? Last year, there was a time when I said this to a Dharma friend. I explained to him how to use it for life release, giving him these instructions. That person said, you won't die, you won't die. You'll live a long life, you'll live a long life. They think this is inauspicious or maybe a little scary. Is it because someone has clairvoyance and knows they're about to die? Actually, that's not entirely the case. In reality, everyone should make plenty of thorough and extensive preparations for any eventuality. We should have some mental preparation for death. This is a tradition of the Kadampa school, and it's not inauspicious at all. But for ordinary people, when you go out or do something today, right before you do it, you might wonder, will I die? Will something impermanent happen? You might feel that's not a good sign, but actually it's not like that. We should always contemplate the impermanence of life. This is truly very important. At a certain point in time, a profound sense of impermanence will naturally and gently arise within your heart. No matter where I go, everything is impermanent, so I must diligently practice. Such a firm conviction will arise. We should follow their example and put it into practice ourselves. It shouldn't just be words, nor should it remain only in writing. We must truly put it into action in our daily lives. That's why some of the old practitioners in the past, precisely because they contemplated impermanence, were never distracted and practiced with exceptional diligence every day. We should also learn from them. We ourselves should wholeheartedly contemplate the teachings on impermanence. All right, we'll stop here for now.
Om